this going out live or what? Or
No. I'm pre-recording it. There we go. I'm pre-recording it, and then I'm going to run it back. I'm going to be on vacation for a week. And then when I come back, I'm going to run it back. We were hoping to get you to do a short phoner, but you're on the road, and we understand. You know, while I was live on the air yesterday, I played, I don't know, an hour and 20 minutes of your catalog yesterday. You know,
Thank
so
you.
we're big supporters.
Right, let's go for it. We'll get food at some point.
Yeah, me too. 91.3 FM, WLVR, Bethlehem. You're listening to Fritz Rocks, of course. I'm AJ Fritz, and something very special happening today. We're down here at NEARfest, and we're talking to the highly renowned and well-respected artist. And some of you may know him from his earlier years with the band Marillion, but that was quite a long time ago. He's been doing his own thing for many years. We're talking about the one and the only Fish. First of all, welcome to NEARfest. It's your first appearance here at NEARfest, and I understand that NEARfest kind of helped a little bit with the current tour.
NEARfest have been absolutely outstanding, because without them we wouldn't actually have an American tour on our hands. I mean, you know, when you come across the States now, I think, especially since, you know, the 9/11 events, you know, it's getting harder and harder to tour. And, you know, applying for visas and, you know, especially from insurance, I mean, there's a lot of paranoia about it as well.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, with the incident that happened where I think it was Great White out there at Rhode Island.
Oh yeah, terrible.
When the club burned down,
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like when you've got an incident where even the radio station got sued successfully. You know, everybody gets so nervous about, you know, putting their hands up and saying, yeah, we'll support this artist. Sure. So it was great. So the NEARfest guys, they signed off as our petitioners for the tour, and without them we wouldn't even be here. So and it was really with the NEARfest thing as well. I mean, the fact that we got this gig, it was like, well, if we're coming all the way across the pond to come and play over here for the NEARfest gig, it's like, well, why don't we try and set something else up?
Do a tour.
And originally, I mean, I thought we'd make get 3 or 4 gigs, but my agent, Larry Wedman, who works down at Paradigm, he was stunning, and he came back after 2 weeks and he had 15 shows for us. Wow. So it was, it was a big call, and it's been hard. I mean, you know, this is not, you know, for myself, I mean, it's not a profit-making tour. I mean, I'm actually losing money on the actual tickets. Oh wow! And it's completely supported by our merchandise here. So it's, you know, without that, we wouldn't be able to come across. And it's always really tough, you know, when you come. I mean, just like the other night in New York, you know, you do BB King's and you're having to hand over kind of 20% of your merchandise to a club and your sessions. It gets really annoying.
Yeah, man. You know, a lot of these festivals and some of your bigger clubs will do that. They want to hit the artist. I mean,
it's so why? Give us a share of the beer money.
You know,
I mean, it's like, you know, you're coming across, as I said. I mean, we got a problem in Europe as well, and people keep on saying, you know, they're not going to put the ticket prices up, you know, and you know, it's costing more and more to go on the road. I mean, even gas and stuff. I mean, you know, you're whinging about $4 a gallon for gas. We're paying 10.
10, I know.
And it's you know, you start stroking that on a bus and putting that together. Plus, you know, every government, the same as over here, everybody's trying to rape the artist. And
everybody's got their hands in everything.
And it's the problem is there seems to be there's, you know, I mean, I can honestly say that the American government has probably spent more money processing forms and all the rest of it, all the bureaucracy, the cost of bureaucracy that's gone into this tour, analysing this tour, is more than the tour is probably gross in the first case, you know?
No, that's true.
I mean, it's people, they don't seem to recognise, there's a lot of people in government don't seem to recognise that there is a hell of a difference between a stadium tour and a club tour.
That's right.
You know, and you know, when you're coming across, I mean, you know, our visas are about $1,200 a guy. You know, plus there's the cost of processing, which is about $2,500.
Wow.
And I mean, we had to, I mean, even like with the American Embassy down in London, everybody's got to go for an interview. So I had to pull, everybody in my band and crew had to fly or train down to London. And, you know, it's about $600 a guy to get them to London, put them in the hotel for the one interview. And it's becoming very, very difficult to tour. Very, very difficult. So, I mean, thanks to Yatta, my production manager, and Larry Wedman, I mean, we've managed to pull it off. And together with the NEARfest guys, I mean, with this particular gig, I mean, it's been the keystone to the entire tour.
I think you're going to do well tonight.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, NEARfest always does well.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I think the audience is, you know, I mean, because everything was focused on this gig as well. I mean, I know there's people coming in from all over the country too.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a very special night, which is why we put together some extra songs and things.
Well, here's an odd thing. Are you aware of Wikipedia?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have it right here on Wikipedia. They actually took the time to update Wikipedia and put it on the front page of Wikipedia that you're appearing at NEARfest tonight, which I thought was quite the testament to NEARfest in itself. You know, that they took the time to say, hey, he's going to be appearing at NEARfest.
I mean, it's great. I mean, it's quite exciting. I mean, I've got the new album, 13 Stars, you know, being released across here in Quatch. And, you know, the response to 13 Stars, the reviews have been great. There's a great buzz on the internet about the album.
Oh, it's
about
a huge buzz.
And it's quite strange, you know. We first came across here in 1983. And Marillion, you know, was always a kind of very much an underground cult outfit, you know, with what we did here. We didn't tour here enough, by any means. We should have toured here an awful lot more in the early days. And I think it would have made a big difference to the band if we'd actually got an edge in the States. But it's ironic that, you know, I'm now 50-year-old, you know, it's the 13th album that I've been involved in, you know, including the 4 I did with Marillion. And I'm now turning around and I'm, you know, there's something happening, you know. I mean, we're putting feelers out at the moment for coming back in September and doing some of the southern states, like, you know, coming from Mexico, going into Texas,
great.
perhaps Southern California and across towards Atlanta and Florida. So that's what we're examining now. And if, you know, it would be absolutely, as I say, totally and unbelievably ironic if at the age of 50, you know, on my 13th studio album, I managed to get something going with you. It would be lovely. You know?
Yeah, I'm at the same age.
I like this song. I love this song. I love this bit where my skin goes from pale blue to red.
To red. Let's talk a little bit about 13th Star. That's your latest album. You said, you know, your 13th studio album. Now, this particular album, Fish, really puts your heart on, you know, on the sleeve for all the listeners to hear. And can you tell the listener how the title came to be and what the album really represents for you?
Title came out, I mean, I was going out with somebody for about a year, and we'd gone down, I'd taken her for the romantic kind of holiday, so we went down to Egypt and did the cruise on the Nile vibe.
Nice.
And then we went to, while we were there, we went up to the Valley of the Kings, which is where Tutankhamun was buried. It's a lot of the major kind of
the major pharaohs. Yeah.
And inside a lot of the tombs, there's when you go in, the ceiling of the tomb is actually painted with this blue wash, on which are painted by hand tens of thousands of stars, and it denotes heaven. Wow. And when I saw it, I just thought it was just such an amazing symbol. Yeah. And I thought, I've got to use this. You know, there was just something. I don't know. It's a very fact that somebody paints heaven on the inside of a tomb. And but it had a lot to do with, for example, the pharaohs. The whole idea of the pharaohs is when they put them in the tomb, when they shut the tomb, the idea is that the pharaoh who's died, he goes up to Sirius, right, and he meets up with all the old pharaohs, and they have a little talk. Yeah. And he basically comes back with the accumulated wisdom of the ages. Okay. And when he comes back, and then the next pharaoh, the next deity kind of comes out, and he's supposed to represent, you know,
all the deities, all the pharaohs.
He's come back with all the wisdom
from all of them.
And I just liked that idea, and it was, you know, and when it came to the end of that year, the relationship that I was in kind of split up for various reasons. And I started to put the album together, and I got involved in a lot of introspection, a lot of retrospection about, you know, where my life had been in particular relationships. And I kind of worked out that it was, well, for a start, I knew it was my 13th album. 13's always been a lucky number for me. And then when I started looking at it, kind of females in my life that had played a really important part in kind of shaping my heart, there was basically 12. And you know, the one that I just split up from, I looked at it as being the 12, so it was like, I'm going to set number 13 now, and it's going to be a lucky one. Yeah. And then we got back together again. I got back together with this particular female, and we got engaged to get married on Valentine's Day. And during that point, I was writing the album, so I started writing the album at the split.
So
I started writing the album, the split. Then we got back together again. I was working with Steve Ansis, who's my very extremely talented bass player, and it was the first time he'd ever written with anybody, and we started writing it in January. So we kind of got back together again, writing it through till April. But the wedding's supposed to be in August, and in April I'm moving into the writing. But a lot of the lyrics were left, so we were kind of putting our musical stuff together.
Get the arrangements together,
and then you do all the tidying up with a big lyric. You know, you've got the verse chorus format. But you know, the big meaty parts were kind of like still to be placed in and sculpted.
Right.
So we moved into May, where we would just start principal recording with Callum Malcolm, our producer, who's done like the Blue Nile, he's done Wet 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 and stuff. He's a very good producer, great ear, great for arrangements. And on 2 days after the invitations for the wedding were sent out, 10 weeks before the wedding, on the first day of principal recording, my fiancée decided she didn't want to get married and walked out, and I've never seen her since.
Oh, wow.
And I was left with a wedding which was completely organised. I mean, church booked, everything. You know?
Oh, talk about a stake through the heart, man.
Yeah, and I had to deal with that, during the recording of the album. And I was, obviously, my house is my studio is my house. So when we actually do the recording, basically we move the furniture, and it's like the drum kit goes in and stuff like that. So I was actually singing in the place where, we'd been living together for the last 3-4 months. And it was like kind of the roses that were dried that were hanging from the roof beam that I'd given to her on Valentine's Day, and the couch with all that. I mean, it was very traumatic. And
it must have been very difficult for you.
But I had two choices, either lay on the floor and basically...
And sulk.
And with all authority for myself.
Right.
Or I got up and fought, and I had a band relying on me, I had a tour that was getting booked. I mean, everybody was relying on me to make this album. Yeah. And I only had this producer for 6 weeks, so we basically stood up and went on fighting. And made what has been acclaimed, and I think is probably the best album I've ever made.
Yeah, that's what the critics are saying, and that's what the fans.
But I wouldn't want to go through that again. I mean, the catharsis that was involved in the album. I mean, you can hear them in some of the recordings. I mean, you can hear the cracks in my voice. I mean, the emotion in it is very, very powerful.
Well, that's why I said you really poured your heart, and you put it out on your sleeve, and it's obvious. It's on the record. It's really there. You captured that. Your current tour, Frank Usher's first appearance in the States?
Yes, exactly. He's played some brilliant guitar. I mean, I've known Frank since I was about 20-year-old. And, he was in the very first band that I joined. Frank was a guitarist, and Frank came in, and that's what I always said to him. I said, look, if I'm ever going to make a solo album, I want to get you in the band. And he came up and he played an individual album. And he's been in and out of the band for years, but I mean, this time I think he's playing just marvellous guitar, and you hear it tonight. And
Steve, who actually co-wrote the album with you.
Brilliant
how's his fingers holding up?
They're coming on. He's just hit him hard. He hadn't played bass for a while, and like gig bass. It's one thing playing gig bass.
Playing in the studio is one thing.
And he plays a hard player. He's a very talented man. Yeah. And he was a major part in the writing of this album. I mean, it's worked out really well. I mean, he was very important in the putting the structures together in the early days as well. A lot of the demos, I mean, he's a very technically minded guy, so a lot of the demos that were getting put together, a lot of the stuff was actually able to use on the principal recording.
It must be great to have these guys along with you for this tour, this time around. But a little bit about the music industry, okay, because you're obviously a part of it, all right? Oh, and by the way, you're listening to 91.3 FM WLBR Bethlehem. It's Fritz Rocks. I'm AJ Fritz. We're talking to the legendary Fish right now. The music industry. A lot of changes in the last 20 years in this industry.
It's a completely different
completely different ball game now, and you're kind of regarded as a pioneer in the web marketing with the company, and you've stated clearly in interviews and on your website that the company, the website, actually helps you finance the projects with the revenue that you earn from the website. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you, what was the spark that sent you in that direction? Was it Napster? Was it downloading? How did you have the foresight to see where this was going to go?
Well, really, when I came out of Polydor, I was setting up Polydor Records just after my second solo album, for my second solo album, Internal Exile. And then I did Songs from the Mirror. I come from a particularly traumatic time then with legal issues, when legal issues I had with EMI, and I felt raped when I came out of that lot. And really no major record company wanted to touch me. I was known as a maverick, I still am known as a bit of a maverick, and I speak my mind. Some people really don't like it, and
well, we respect that about you.
I think some people just looked on me as being a difficult artist. A difficult artist, yes.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, I really didn't want to go back in another record company and do another kind of, and do the one album or two albums, whatever. It's like, and I decided to go independent from the Dick Brothers label. And at that point, a lot of the web stuff was just starting to move. This was when, it was very, very basic and simple, and we just kind of went with it. And I was lucky that I've had some people like Mo Warden, who's my web mistress. She was phenomenal in kind of bringing the site together, etc., etc. And we just naturally fell into it. And it was through necessity. I mean, the numbers, the numbers were going down, and you just had to maximise your income. And it was like retail was changing. The big chain stores were, demanding more and more discounts. And at the end of the day, if you sell 40, 50,000 albums, and the album costs £60,000 to make, if I was going just purely through retail, I couldn't make that album.
Right.
Because at retail, you're lucky if you pick up $2 an album. And it's with that, you've either got a choice to just take the quality albums down, or try some other way. And this is what we did. So we sell direct, which means that for example, 13 Star, when it was released, we managed to sell the album direct. We sold about 10,000 units directly to fans, or a special edition, which we still got a couple left. And with that, it's we had the gain that we got, the profit we earned. We were able to pay for the album and to instigate the promotion as it went into retail on the second phase.
Okay.
And between that and merchandise we sell, the gigs, it keeps me alive. I'm not a millionaire, no desire to be one. But I earn a living, and I keep a roof over my head, and I'm able to make an album every couple of years.
Gardener, forestry worker, Marillion frontman, and now a highly renowned and respected solo artist. What was the catalyst for you getting into this whole business?
I just love music, and that's why I got into it. Yeah. It's interesting. I've just rattled off about $300 down there on a CD. It's one of them things where
sell more merch tonight, Fish.
Yeah. Well, I love the music. I still love music. I mean, I don't follow a lot of new music, but I mean, there's a lot. I think when you come at one of these kind of prog gigs, I mean, like, you've got all the albums that you had to sell to pay your rent when you were a young musician.
Yeah.
You get the money later on in your life, and you buy all the albums.
Exactly.
So that's what I've been kind of doing. I mean, get vinyl albums, and of course I'm a DJ as well. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I do on Planet Rock, which is the station I work for.
We're going to get to that. I want to talk to you about that.
Well, so I picked up a load of material that they'll probably hear when I go on air again when I get back.
Why Fish for the name?
Staying in the water, staying in the water. I love water.
You love the water.
Scuba diving, love the water. It's an ancient one. I was boring story.
I love the water myself.
When you've got a name like Derek William Dick, you need a nickname pretty fast.
Well, it's a good one. It really is. You just mentioned Fish on Friday, Planet Rock. And what some of your fans may not know is that May of 2008, actually, Fish on Fridays won the Silver Award for Music Broadcaster of the Year, the UK Sony Radio Academy Awards of 2008. What are you playing on the air?
Well, I should actually point out that last night I came from New York, where I was at the New York Radio Festival Awards, and I just picked up a gold for Best Scheduled Programme. So
awesome!
Yeah,
Awesome.
Really cool.
What kind of artist are? What are you doing?
I'll tell you anything. I mean, Trevor White, my producer, he basically, he wanted me to come to the station. I said, well, come on, but I said, I don't want to do. I'm not going to go on the computer. I'm not going to be sitting there in between Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith tracks.
No, you wanted to play.
And I said, if I get up, if I'm going to do a program, I want free play.
Right.
And I said, anything goes in. He gave me it. And I've been playing stuff like Gentle Giant, Van der Graaf Generator. I mean, it was great actually meeting Peter Hamill earlier on, because I've not seen him for years. He was on the first script tour in 1983.
I sent you an invite. He played last night, 30 minutes from here.
No, but I was at the New York Awards last night.
Oh well.
I was,
don't worry.
I was, I played Peter's stuff, Van der Graaf, Gentle Giant. I played, the kind of more obscure Genesis and Floyd stuff. But on top of that, there's things like Can, Banco, PFM, but as well as that, there's Jackson Browne. I still play Zeppelin, I still play bits of Purple, I play bits of Iron Maiden. I mean, it's right across the board.
So
I just play music that I like to hear.
Yeah, nice mix of stuff.
And it's combined with a lot of stories. When we did when I was making the program, we were in the middle of doing 13 Stars. So what we were doing was we were taking the demos from the album out and playing them on air. Yeah. And we were showing people how the songs were building.
Wow, that's not something you get to hear on radio every day.
It was pretty cool.
I saw some notes that a guy named Malcolm Blumell, and we all know who Tony Iommi is, and Ian Anderson, who I'm going to be interviewing shortly, he's coming to Music Fest, and Gary Moore, bought the station. Now, do you still own a part of this thing?
No, not really.
Not really.
No,
not really.
No.
But you were.
I'm very involved.
You were involved in.
I'm very involved with the station, and as I said, I'm going back, and I've got another I think another 4 months stint, 3 months, 4 months stint on the station when I get the time in between the touring. So most probably that'll be happening towards the end of the year.
Okay.
And then I dip into it. But I know I was working with Jethro Tull. Well, I was working with Jethro Tull. Jethro Tull were up in Edinburgh about a month and a half ago, and it was great because I got to go on stage with Ian, which was brilliant. I've known the Tull boys for years. I mean, they really supported Tull, and then Tull supported us, and then I supported Tull as a solo artist, and they've worked with me as well at other festivals. So it's like, it's an old adage. It's like, always remember, like, never piss people off when you're on the way up, because you're going to meet them all the way down again.
That's right. You're going to see them all on the way down. That's true.
And I think that's a classic example where, it's like we supported them, they supported us, then you go back to supporting them again and things, and then they supported you. It's great, and they're lovely people. Ian's a lovely guy.
Yeah, he is. I've interviewed him before, and he's such a great man. He's got so many accomplishments. But is it terrestrial radio, or is it strictly internet radio?
It's digital. It's digital
radio.
Yeah.
Okay, so you can you listen to it online on the internet? Yeah. Excellent. Why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about Fish TV?
The Fish TV thing is, it's just another idea. It was an extension of the website, and I've got a lot of 8mm footage from way back, but not from the early days, but when I went solo, and that's hours and hours and hours of it. So we started to put little programs together, and it's a streaming, streaming video basically. It's part of a subscription thing that you can get on the website. It's been interesting to do, but but I'm working on. It's going to be interesting because we're working on the back catalogue, and we're looking at doing a complete reissue. And what we're looking at doing is using a lot of I've got footage from most of the solo years, from bits and pieces of things. So we're going to actually put together like many documentaries on every CD. But that will be up until well at the end of the year.
Oh wow!
So that again will be part of the new American deal.
Yeah. Are there any particular things that keep you motivated and dedicated to your craft and your fans?
As long as I'm having fun and I've got a smile on my face, then it's great.
Yeah.
When I'm a miserable bastard, you know about it. But if I get to the point where I don't enjoy it, that's when I stop.
Yeah.
That being a singer is tough. I smoke cigarettes, I shouldn't, I cut right down, but
that's okay. I'm a smoker too, and I'm in radio,
Well, you can do that in radio because you get that lovely deep radio voice, lovely deep radio voice, but then you can't do it when you're a singer.
No,
the problem is, like, every time you go on a movie set, with a voice like this, everybody goes like, wow, what a great timbre.
That's right.
And when you're singing, you got to watch the strain.
Yeah, you've got to be,
different
ranges.
I'm 4 hours off a show at the moment. I'm not eating any food yet. I'm sitting here doing a radio interview talking my arse off.
Well, we're almost done here, Fish. By the way, you're listening to 91.3 FM, WLVR Bethlehem. It is Fritz Rocks. I'm AJ Fritz. We're talking to Fish, and why don't we do this? Why don't we at least wrap things up and tell the listener how they can stay in contact with Fish and with your various emails and your blogs. Why don't you repeat the website for everybody to let them know how they can find you?
The website is www.thecompany.com, and there's a hyphen between the and company. You can also reach it by going to 13star.com, so it's 13, the number is 13star.com. But the main site is called thecompany.com with a hyphen between the and company.
Beautiful. And what can the fans expect at NEARfest tonight in the set?
Hopefully that guy that's like, in action and pumping it out, and a voice that doesn't get too franked by the end of the set, because it's going to be a bit of a long one tonight.
Oh, great.
We're playing some extra songs tonight.
Super. Yeah. So we're getting a great set tonight. Well, Fish, I want to say thank you for coming to the Lehigh Valley.
Thank you.
And hopefully you'll come back again to the Lehigh Valley. Mm-hmm. This is your first, I think this is your first appearance here in the Lehigh Valley area, so I think it's going to be quite a treat for all the fans. Everybody, and by the way, I want you to know that this whole thing was put together by your fans. The Fishhead fans got me the information, got me your publicist's name and number. So it was the Fishheads who put this whole interview together. So let's give thanks to them, man.
Yes, Fishheads are great people.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Well, I thank you so much, Fish, all right? And we look forward to the performance, all right?
Great, thanks.
Thank you so much.